Hi, I'm Jason Gore for ThatShelf.com, and we're here to talk about a light. Why not let there be light? We're here to talk about the Reliable Uberflex light, which I'm going to use as part of my vinyl, my home theater setup, here on ThatShelf.com.
Shelf.
So, I've been watching a bunch of, other stuff on YouTube, because what else does one do during COVID? Thank you for watching this on YouTube. And I've noticed that a lot of home theater people and audiophile people, specifically vinyl heads, have been going on about a light, this Uberflex. And I realized I knew I had seen the name somewhere, this company called Reliable. I've seen it in two places. One, I've seen it sort of in around town. I have some people that are like industrial designers in terms of clothing, right? That they manufacture dresses and that sort of stuff. And I've seen their name, and it's just I've gone in Toronto around Caledonia, and you drive by, and there's this lighting place called Reliable, and so I knew it was a Canadian company. But I saw like the usual suspects, the people like Michael Fremer and stuff like that, had been going on about this lamp. And I realized it's in Canada. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm in Canada. I like vinyl. I like records. I have a light. So let's see what we got here. So here we are. Here's the Uberlight Flex from Reliable. Nice little, solid box. And I thought I would open up and talk about why the hell I would need a light in the first place. So I have my trusty terrible knife that I'm going to open and see what this thing is all about. So basically, when you're playing records, particularly, but also other discs, I find sometimes I need it with Blu-rays and other stuff, but specifically with vinyl, it's really good to be able to see the exact lines, especially when your eyes are old like mine. I've had a couple of years of some really nonsensical stuff with my eyeballs of late, which is kind of funny, since I look at things for a living. But nonetheless, I really like having the right tool for the right purpose. I have, as you'll see later in the video, I have, what most people have, which is the cheap crap IKEA thing, gooseneck, which has done very well for me for many years. It's not like I'm afraid of IKEA. But nonetheless, I heard that this light was something to actually look at, as it were. Something to be, to brighten my day. So inside here, I love boxes inside boxes. Boom. We have the task light, the Uberlight. What is it? The Uberlight 4100 TL. A precision, the ultimate in task lighting. So what the heck do you need a light for in terms of task? Well, obviously when you drop the needle on your turntable, it's always good to know which track you're actually dropping it on. It's good to see if there's actually any schmutz that you may have missed on my beloved degrader. It can always go in there if there's some dust floating around and actually see. And actually, I'm looking forward to using this to actually read matrices, to read the numbers in the dead wax. I have so many times hard just to get the right angle on, so I'm sort of anxious to see how this will actually behave. There's two models of this. There's this one, which is the one that I was lucky enough to get, which includes a base. It's a big heavy. It looks like, it's a goose light. The other one's a clamp, so you would actually stick it onto your table that way. But with my setup, this is definitely the way to go. Inside this lovely colored box with lots of features. Up to 600 lumens, life expectancy up to 60,000 hours. Well, that'll last much longer than my cartridge. It has a 26.5-inch silicone neck, and it's got multiple color temperatures, which I really like. It's got 2700K, 4000K, 5000K, and again, 9 settings, 6 watt, 4 watt, and 2 watt, so multiple levels of brightness. That's what I'm actually genuinely looking forward to, is somewhere, that I can just set it and forget it, but also tweak it when I want to, It's one of those. I get the best of both worlds. Foam. And inside here, we have, as expected, this beast. It is not light. So it's a big, heavy base. And our goose light. And as opposed to a gooseneck light, whatever, with a bunch of LEDs on the bottom, And the plug, as it were, looks like USB-B. I think that's what it's called. It's micro USB. And so this will just plug into an adapter, which luckily they give us one. That's it. It is a simple thing, but it's going to be effective. And as it stands here, this is obviously a gazillion times more substantial than what I was dealing with my IKEA light. It's actually quite heavy. But really this was designed for people who are doing very technical and delicate things. You obviously office environments, but manufacturing environments. People who need bright lights in order to see the stuff that they're sewing. This is what Reliable has, that kind of sort of industrial stuff. You know, it's attractive. Would I have liked it to have been in black? Yeah, because that probably would have worked much better in my home theater environment. Nonetheless, I got this giant white thing. So I've actually turned off one of my other elements of lighting, so I'm going to be a bit dark here. But as I turn this on, you can see immediately, as is blocking my face, immediately get a lot of illumination out of here. There's a couple little push buttons on the top, and that's how you actually adjust these elements. So right here, I can have different levels of brightness. And then the other button will actually change color temperature. So you can see it turns a little bit orangish yellow, but this is doing wonders to my complexion. Nonetheless, this is fantastic that I can actually have this nice warm light if I wish, but then in a couple buttons I have this sort of blasting super bluish white light to actually see any clarity that I need. Now, just for fun, I'm going to do what I had wanted to, pulling out a random Yes record, because it happens to be lying here. One of the few I haven't put in a MoFi sleeve because it actually came in a proper sleeve. So you can see how nice it illuminates. And yeah, immediately I can read the matrices without too much in the way of blockage. Now I am seeing all the reflections of the individual LEDs, which is not ideal, but it looks like it can actually get the focus pretty right in order to get it done. Nonetheless, I can definitely see all the elements here. It's going to be super overexposed on my camera, but nonetheless, yeah, you can absolutely see any dings and stuff like that. So in terms of inspecting it, as it were, it's great. As I dial it in different color temperatures, yeah, completely unimportant in terms of doing its use as task, but it's a nice thing to have. So I would have liked if they used the USB-C. I'm a much bigger fan of USB-C. I find that this little USB-B connector, the old micro USB, is a little pernickety. But what's nice about it, because it's USB, is that I can have this as long as I want. I can basically get a much longer extension cable. It's just, again, regular USB. We know from the joys of LED lighting like this that, again, it'll last forever, 60,000 hours or something ridiculous. So from there, I just know that it'll just work. So I'm going to sort of put it in there, plug it in, and see how the thing actually behaves. You can see there's the regular IKEA task light, their little gooseneck light. It's about 10, 15 bucks. Lots of people actually use this. I mean, my entire vinyl setup is surrounded by products from IKEA. God bless the Swedes. But it does the trick. It gives me a little bit of illumination. It's very low key. It just sits there. It's out of the way and doesn't do a lot. Now, its illumination isn't super bright, but it's a single source of illumination, which has been really nice, and it's absolutely done the trick. Now let's see what happens if we put in an Uberlight. Now, without doing a thing to adjust the exposure, you can see just how much more light I'm getting out of this. Obviously, the comparison's a little bit unfair. We're talking about, you know, something that runs well over $100 to something that's just $10 or $15 at IKEA. But nonetheless, this is absolutely lighting up the area the way that I want. Now, this is as bright as it gets. If I dial it down, oh, that's the color temperature. I will get used to this. Let's go to the highest color temperature. and that is on full, and that is on low. So even on low, I am seeing every nook and cranny on the record. I'm seeing every little bit of dust, but it just allows me to readily dial in, and I can gooseneck this into whatever I want and see any elements with on the record in the cartridge, any amounts of dust that may actually be sort of there that I want to clean up. Absolutely fantastic illumination. As I brighten this up, again, absolutely, there's no additional lighting here. You can see how massive a difference it is without changing the exposure. Again, I can dial this to a slightly more warm color if I want to actually have that look. I'm not sure why I would in this instance, but you know, it looks really nice. And then somewhere in the middle, so it's not the sort of scorching bluish bright, but something like that. That middle line might absolutely be perfect. So is it doing the trick? Well, I want it to light up and actually show the record as best as it can to see what I'm doing, to see the individual grooves. If I'm looking for a particular track, it does exactly what I want it to do. I understand that they're working on other models that will have stuff like slide to adjust the dim rather than having the click stuff. Something that sort of integrates a little bit better into, you know, this kind of weirdo environment. And again, making a black model is a no-brainer. This is a very industrial looking white hunk of thing. But I think it does a fantastic job at what it's supposed to be doing, which is lighting up my turntable area. So there we are, the Reliable Uberlight. I'm really happy to have it, really happy to support some Canadian companies with their excellent design. And it's nice to see something that, you know, is functional, that is actually benefiting. There's so much stuff in this hobby that people buy because it promises to work in a certain way, and it is so esoteric, whether it's like some piece of wood holding up your cable or whatever, that you just can't really buy what it's really doing. And for what it's worth, this is a proper light that properly works. Really stiff arm here. It's not going anywhere. Once you put it where it's going to be, once you set it up where it is on your turntable, it's going to be exactly where you want. There you are, for thatshelf.com, a look at this light. I hope you really enjoyed. Please let us know in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next video. All the best.